Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, fellow photography, filmmaking, Sony camera enthusiasts. Today, I want to talk to you about the Sony G Master 24 1.4 lens. I've actually done an old school review on it. I'll link up here. Today, I wanted to give my updated review, and these are all the things I would want to know before I bought this lens. The 24 is my studio lens that I keep on my camera all the time. I'll give you a sneak peek here. I think I could have been a bartender in a previous life. All right, so I've been working with this lens for a little over 3 years now, and I just want to offer up some stuff I've learned along the way. Photography, filmmaking, it's super personal, so a lot of it comes down to your preferences, what you'd like to have, what you'd like to use it for. But let me tell you about how I've used it, how I found it valuable. First off, and to jump straight to the point, would I buy it again for photo, video? Well, the short answer is yes. Yes, I would buy it again. I consider it to be one of the most valuable lenses in my kit, but it does have a few limitations, a few downsides, if you will. These are all things I would have wanted to know before I bought it. So here we go. I wanted to format this review, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll start right up top with the good. Low light. Being able to crank the f-stop to 1.4 and shoot low light video or astrophotography or just any situation where something low light might arise, that right away makes it an MVP in my bag, because there are just some situations when there's not a lot of light, and being able to go to 1.4 is just like, we'll see what it does. B-roll, being able to crank that f-stop down, and there's just a beautiful image that comes out of this. I use it a lot for B-roll, and if I'm gonna take two lenses with me and I want to shoot something that looks like cinematic or different, this lens is one of those that comes along with. The image is sharp and non-distorted across the frame. Look at my hands out here. You don't see any of that crazy distortion going on, which is nice. It's nice to be able to grab a wide lens and go out and shoot things and not get those distorted edges. Although sometimes that's a cool look. That might be something you want. With this lens, it's pretty neutral across the frame and sharp across. Perhaps one of my favorite things about this lens, and a reason that I will carry it around often, is because of its versatility and the size or form factor. It's not a big intimidating lens. When I want to go downtown, shoot street photography, it's nice to run around with something small, nimble, something that doesn't look intimidating or make me look like a photographer carrying a big long lens. It weighs in at 15.7 ounces or 445 grams, and it's got a minimum focusing distance of 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters. It's nice to be able to get close to some things. It's not macro close, but it's close enough that you can get that tight B-roll or some of those tighter shots and still be able to be in focus. So it just adds to the versatility of this lens. If I need to create something more cinematic or beautiful looking, the 24 1.4 G Master is a go-to of mine. It just has a look, and that can be one of the hardest things to describe, but I wanted to give you plenty of sample video. You can see for yourself what it looks like, how it looks, and then make your judgment yourself. But I'm a big fan of it. Lots of versatility going down from 1.4 up to f16. Typically, if I'm doing something filmy or I want it to just look cinematic and beautiful, I've got the 24, the 50, and the 85 is my go-to primes. Say more often than not, the 24 is on my camera the most when I'm doing that because of the versatility. All right, let's talk pure photography cases for a minute. My two favorite ways to use this lens is for street photography and landscape photography, and as a general walk around lens. I mentioned earlier it's not intimidating on the front of the camera, but it's just super versatile. 24 millimeters is a versatile focal length that I find to be very handy shooting street, landscape, non-distorted, wide. That this is just a really great walk around lifestyle type lens. It's flexible enough that you can shoot portraits with it. It absolutely crushes astrophotography if you're into astrophotography. I know that's kind of a niche, but when you want to shoot the stars, it's so nice to be able to have a tool that really shines when it comes to astrophotography. These are just a few of the most practical ways I've found to use the lens. I'm curious if you've used it before, if you have something similar, what you like using it for, but it really shines for me, street, astro, landscape, things where you want to capture a wider scene or you want a non-distorted look. The bad. Not everything is all sunshine and roses. This lens is certainly not perfect, and probably the number one drawback I can think of if you're considering purchasing. Got a $1,400 price point as of today on B&H Photo. It's been priced at $1,400 for a long time. It is an investment, And for a prime lens, it's definitely priced on the higher side of things, but it is their G Master lineup. We are paying a higher cost for Sony's premium lens lineup. Probably my biggest hang up with this lens and my most personal frustrations that I've ran into is I've used many of the Sony lenses for video, and this one has what I would consider to be mediocre autofocus. Autofocus I'm using right now, but it's simple because I've got it just pointed at me. If you're out in the street, if you're out in the landscapes, it can't hunt, and that's frustrating. It's just something to know if you're going to work with for video. Everything tends to have its limitations, and one of the limitations with this tends to be autofocus. It will lose autofocus. It will hunt more often than I've experienced with other Sony lenses. Okay, vlogging. The final drawback to this lens for me, and the reason it doesn't live on my camera more often, is when I'm out vlogging, this lens is not optically stabilized. I'll show you some sample footage. This just has some shake to it. More shake than I consider to be really usable in most vlogging situations. If you were vlogging with it, you can work with it. You just kind of need to work around that and know that walking with it, talking with it is definitely not the best look. And it depends how much shake you're okay with, but it's more shake than I would like to have when I'm out vlogging for sure. So if you are out vlogging and you want to just work around it, lock it off, put it on a tripod, put it on a GorillaPod, set it somewhere and just talk to the camera. But definitely walking, you get those micro jitters that just don't look as good as a optically stabilized lens might look. Like my 16-35 f4 with OSS, that tends to be much more stable and is my go-to for vlogging. And the ugly. Wah, wah, wah. So if I'm shooting you completely straight here, in the ugly category, there's nothing I would directly place into it. I think the $1,400 price point is about the closest thing we could shove down into the ugly category, but it is a G Master lens and it does hold its value pretty darn well. I think used lenses still sell for $1,100 or $1,200. If you have the cash that you can put out towards the lens, you're not going to take a big hit on selling it later if you want to get a trial run or rent it, try it out, see what you think for yourself before you buy it. Investing in your lenses is a long-term play. There's something you're going to have. They don't go out of style. And when you want to use it, I wouldn't want to not have it. I wouldn't want to not have it when I was going out to shoot astrophotography in a pinch when I needed it in low light, or just to have that B-roll look. Those are some of my favorite things to use it for. That's been my experience and my review using the Sony G Master 24 1.4 lens. I hope you learned a thing or two, and if you did, subscribe to the channel, leave it a thumbs up. That stuff legitimately helps. Drop any questions you have about the lens down below. I'd like to hear if you've used it too, what's been your experience, how you've used it, where you've seen it shine, where the pros and cons are, what you've learned yourself. Photography and filmmaking's fun. Invest in yourself though before you invest in gear. Don't feel like you need expensive stuff to go and make things. Make things, buy gear later. I will catch you back here for the next one.